Welcome back. After a recent leadership contest, the Green Party of Canada is trying something new. Call it job sharing. Tonight, we're pleased to welcome federal party leaders, co-leaders, Elizabeth May and Deputy Leader Jonathan Pedneau. And welcome very much back to the Maritimes.
Oh, thanks.
Welcome home, Elizabeth.
I've been home since before COVID, so this is long overdue. I'm happy to be here.
And initially, the two of you wanted to come out, but Fiona hit.
Exactly. And our campaign manager, who's my dear friend Marlene Wells, who lives in Stellarton, the tree landed and smashed her car. There was no thought that we were going to do the road trip at that point.
I have to say that I did tell her to move the car, but it was.
But Jonathan went to Ile-de-Madeleine, and Jonathan's previous career before becoming co-leader in the Green Party is as a journalist. So he basically went there and interviewed the people about, I mean, the horrors of Fiona. It's really hard to absorb how many places got walloped all at once.
And it's still being played out. Look, I mentioned that there's some co-leadership here, which you've been in politics, Elizabeth, for a very long time. Yeah. And this is a different situation than what we're used to in this country. Why does it work for the Green Party of Canada, and why would it work? You know, why would electors be interested in this?
Well, I went there, as you recall, of course, I was leader of Green Party of Canada before, and it was a solo thing, and it generally is seen as a singular leadership role. But within the Green Party, the title of leader doesn't convey that you're the boss, you're not in charge, you're the chief spokesperson. And I looked around the world. Now, there are 80 countries with Green parties, and right now we're in government in 11 of those countries. Well, the role of leader in all those countries that are green is of chief spokesperson, but many of them have a co-leadership model. And when I talk to my colleagues in other countries, the Greens who are serving with partners in job sharing and co-leadership highly recommended it. I've been looking at it for years, and I was just really, really fortunate that at the moment I realized that because of the climate crisis and because of the failure of governments to respond early enough that we could have avoided Fiona, I felt I needed to re-enter that political fray, and I did not want to repeat the experiences of being singular leader with an opportunity to offer our membership, look, we want to be co-leaders, and I think that we still have a few steps to take internally, that the membership sign off on changing the Constitution. That's why our official titles now are leader and deputy. But we're working towards the co-leadership model. The members voted for us, so we know that there's support for the idea.
For it, yeah.
And so you're on tour now. The idea to build the party membership. Mr. Pedneau, you're running in Quebec. Quebec has not been fertile ground for the Green Party of Canada, but obviously you see an opportunity there.
Yeah, most certainly. I mean, I think I see opportunities for the Greens throughout the country. I think Canadians are tired of status quo politics. They're tired of status quo politicians. They are now faced with the twin crises of inflation and climate change. Not to mention housing, not to mention rising cost of living for everyone. Clearly something is amiss in Ottawa, and that something is a connection to the people of Canada. We are seeing politicians who are disconnected from the reality that so many people throughout this country are experiencing, and I think they're looking for alternatives, and we'll be there to be that alternative.
But are environmental issues a tougher sell right now, given that cost of living, inflation? We're going to likely see a raise in the Bank of Canada interest rates later this week. Those are really front and center right now. Does it make it tougher to get that message, sir?
It's all linked. It's all linked. I think we're the party that recognizes that the environment is at the core, is at the center of everything. You can't have a solid economy with a planet that's hurting.
And I was just going to say the same thing, Jonathan. When we look at what's driving up the costs of living, some of it is related to the war in Ukraine. The price of energy spiked when Putin invaded Ukraine. Some of it is related to climatic events, such as droughts in countries that used to be breadbaskets. Canadians have been dependent for a very long time on imported food, fruits and veg from California. Well, those costs are going to keep going up. They're not inflationary in the sense that the Bank of Canada, tinkering with interest rates, is going to be able to reduce them. They can have some impact when Bank of Canada interest rates go up, but they don't touch the fact that if Madagascar gets walloped by so many typhoons that they can't grow the vanilla beans that are used in so many products, that has a real impact on food costs, as does droughts in areas that produce grain, as well as the war in Ukraine.
I've got a minute left here. I want to touch on something you said a little while back, that Canada is in a new kind of climate denial.
Yeah. The new kind of climate denial comes from politicians who say, oh, we understand climate change. It's a real issue. And by the way, we're going to build pipelines. And by the way, we're going to drill off Bay du Nord. So you can't claim to understand the climate crisis and have a plan to avert the threat, which is the collapse of human civilization. That's what we're looking at. And it's not an exaggeration. You have to, if you're serious about the climate crisis, you have to be serious about a plan that protects livelihoods and protects our economy, but is focused on phasing out dependency on fossil fuels.
So we shouldn't read too much into your appearance here that perhaps we could be getting ready for an election. There's been talk about it.
That's not going to be up to us.
No, but I think the likelihood is that Mr. Trudeau and Mr. Singh, like the plan they have together, that they just, the NDP have given the Liberals a blank check.
Yeah.
Right.
For very little in return. But I don't see any indication at this point from working on Parliament Hill that an election is likely at all before the expiration date of the Liberal NDP deal.
Elizabeth May, Jonathan Pedneau of the co-leadership of the Green Party of Canada. We certainly appreciate you being here. Thank you and welcome back to the Maritimes. Welcome home and welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Todd.
We'll take a time out. We'll be right back with business news on the other side.